At Firehouse Subs, a portion of every purchase helps provide life-saving equipment to first responders. We make our subs differently because our subs can make a difference. Like our fan-favorite Turkey Bacon Ranch, piled high with tender smoked turkey breast, crispy bacon, melted sharp cheddar cheese, and drizzled with creamy peppercorn ranch. And it's only at Firehouse Subs. Click the banner now to start your pickup or delivery order.
Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast.
Very, very excited about today here on Fantasy NBA Today. Probably should have thought that through a little bit better. Might not have said the same word a bunch of times in a row, but it doesn't matter. We're in it now. We're in the end game now. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the show name that I just said. I'm Dan Baspris. And we're going to be joined in just a couple of minutes by the stash master himself, the great Jonas Nader of NBC Sports Edge. And, of course, the real big three on hiatus for a year. Hopefully it'll be back. You guys know that I am staunchly anti-stash from the beginning of the year. But, as we talked about 2-3 weeks ago, when you get to within about a month of the trade deadline, that's when I think you can start to dive in a little bit more. And nobody, I mean this, nobody at any site, anywhere, does it as well as Jonas does. As a point of reference, Jonas and I did a show last year. I think it was a real big three episode, actually. It wasn't Fantasy NBA Today. About 2 weeks or so before the trade deadline. So pretty similar timing to this one today. With, of course, our very good buddy, Scott Bogman. Shout out. We miss you, dude. And Jonas gave us Moses Brown as a post-deadline breakout candidate, who at the time hadn't played an NBA game, I don't believe. Or if he did, it was like 2 minutes, mostly doing stuff in the G League. And, of course, he came out and went nuts for a couple of games. He had like a 20-20 game. We had him everywhere because of the prep. And then we got to sell high on him because people thought he was going to go 20-20. This spindly little rookie. That's the beauty of the trade deadline stash. Find the diamonds in the rough and then know what to do with them. By the way, you can follow me on Twitter at Dan Baspris. I would certainly ask that you do at DANBESBRIS. Big thank you to Gil Alexander of VSiN for having me on this morning to talk division odds. Who will win the different divisions in the NBA? That was a really fun show. I think you can go watch that stuff on the VSiN website after the fact. I'm not positive about that. But yeah, basically, I mean, that's what's up. The other note before we dive into Jonas is please do go check out the Sports Ethos YouTube page. It's just youtube.com/sportsethos. We have our trade deadline show already set up. It's going to be Thursday the 10th. So not 2 days from today, obviously. Trade deadline day. 9 days from today. It'll start at 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern, and runs for 5 hours. I'll be on for most of it. Not the whole thing this year. I need to take a little break. 5 hours is just a bit too much for one man without a commercial break. And incredible analysts breaking down fantasy trades, well, real-life trades and what they mean for fantasy in real time. So please do go to youtube.com/sportsethos and click the thumbs up button on that link, which I forgot to put in the show description. Why didn't any of you guys come to me and like, Dan, you're an idiot. You forgot to put it in the show description after you made a big deal about doing it. I'm going to do it today. I can't possibly screw this up 2 days in a row, can I? Guess we'll find out. youtube.com/sportsethos. Super easy to find, or, provided I'm not a moron, the link in the show description. We'll do a little breakdown on yesterday's card after talking to Jonas. So if you're wondering about a recap of the 8-game Monday, don't worry. That'll be more towards the end of the program. For now, let's just talk to our buddy. It's been too damn long. I am so happy. I'm so happy. I love talking to a friendly, I'd say a friendly face, but this is an audio podcast, I get. Jonas Nader, what's up, man? How you been?
I've been great, man. I know you've been too. We just caught up before this, and it's just been, I don't know, 4 months since we spoke. Everything just seems like a blur this year. I don't know how you're feeling about this fantasy season. I want to hear your thoughts.
I'm
I
confused.
have been like the most up and down of my life, like just these periods of excitement where my teams are just buzzing. And then like 3 or 4 weeks ago, there was some teams I had with 3 active players out of 13, and I just lost all interest for like 3 weeks. Didn't log in.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I've definitely had that. I think I may have moaned about it on this show and then thought, nobody wants to hear my fantasy teams. But I definitely had a team where 9 out of 15 guys was out. And these are like games cap teams or roto games cap leagues where I'm like, you know what? I legitimately can't catch up in the games cap anymore. There's no, what's the point? I've never had that happen before where injuries impacted a team so much, even in a games cap format, that I was like, okay, well, this is probably just it's not going to be my year in this particular league. Yeah, it's crazy.
Now imagine hitting a games cap, Dan. I do a lot of 30-team dynasties. Imagine hitting games cap in those. Do you know what I've been doing in those? I've had to stream players like Romeo Langford. That's how dire it's gotten.
Yeah, I was going to pull up the 30 deep rosters for try to figure out what the hell I was doing, because I thought I had a pretty damn good 30 deep team this year. And again, I know people don't really want to hear it, and I had CJ McCollum, Jimmy Butler, Gary Trent all go down at the exact same time. If you lose 3 guys on a 30 deep team that were effectively, I mean, 2 of those were my first 2 picks. Butler and McCollum, I think, were my first 2. It was like pick 12 and pick 50 or something, whatever it was. You're pretty much doomed at that point. I think I just took a couple zeros in those spots. I was like, I legitimately don't even have a guy I can pick up that I could put.
And all 3 of those guys that you just said outperformed their per game numbers by a ton, and yet you're still struggling because they've played like 7 games collectively.
Yeah. Oh my God. Listen, so here's what we're going to do. Jonas is going to give us his Bucket O Jonas gems, the stash master himself, but I'm making you guys wait for it because, damn it, you need to hear us catch up a little bit. I started that sentence and then I completely forgot what I was about to say about it. I remember. For the first month of this year, I was really excited about the guys I was getting on the turn in the draft. I was like, turning out great. I got Jimmy Butler on the turn. I got Paul George on the turn. Mm-hmm. We got Anthony Davis on the turn in certain places, and then they all just down for like 7 weeks in a row and counting.
I had a stupid amount of Paul George exposure this year. Stupid amount.
Yeah.
And he was what? The 3rd or 4th best player until he got hurt?
He was great.
I remember.
He had cooled off for like a week or 2, but then it was like, oh, by the way, he's dealing with an arm thing. And the arm thing needs Tommy John surgery. In fact, just a minor arm thing. So it kind of sucks. I mean, the way I really want there to be a year where you don't get such a massive advantage by getting a top 3 pick in fantasy, but it's not going to be this year.
Yeah. See, the funny thing about it too is I had a couple of Damian Lillard shares this year. I get worried about his abdomen and I trade him for Paul George, and a week later Paul George's elbow flares up. So there's just no escaping this season. We say it every single year, but it's true every single year. This is the worst year for injuries, absences, protocols now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think maybe this year too, we could probably call it the worst because it's impacted the highest ranked guys.
Yeah.
Normally I feel like
guys
it's more
going into the protocols like 3 or 4 times. Like I can't even keep up with the rules anymore. You know what I mean? It's just impossible.
Yeah, then you got but although for those who like streaming, the late December and early January was arguably the greatest streaming period in the history of fantasy sports.
Absolutely.
So there's that silver lining. All right, give me the first Jonas gem as we prepare for the trade deadline. It's just 9 days away. I know you got something up your sleeve, man.
I do, and I got to get this first one out of the way because I need you on my side, so I wanted to start strong.
You're buttering me up on this one, huh?
We are going to go with Thaddeus Young.
No way, come on.
That. Yep.
All right, explain
Widely
yourself.
Available. I got the best argument for him possible. He has an expiring $14 million contract. I can think of off the top of my head 6 or 7 contenders that could slot him into a 25-minute role today, and he'd be perfectly fine. People don't understand how good of a playmaker he became in like the last couple years. Like he was so good for the Bulls, and then we saw it for the Spurs too. I think it was Pirtle that missed time about a couple months ago, and then Young played only 20 minutes plus 7 times in a row, and he averaged 12 points, 5.4 rebounds, 4.4 assists, 1.4 steals, and 1 blocks in 24.5 minutes. Like if he hit a free throw in that span, that's early round value.
Yeah, I don't know. I really still can't fully figure out what happened to him in Chicago when he turned into this magical point center. I remember what you're talking about earlier this year too, because there was you sent out a tweet that says if you're not in a league with Dan Bespris, go grab Thaddeus Young.
And he's so good. Like people realize the only reason he's not playing is because the Spurs named him Thaddeus Old. Like he's not a part of the rebuild. That's the only reason he's not playing. If they were hunting wins right now, like he'd be getting 26, 28 minutes there. It's just unfortunate really that he's in the worst possible spot. But man, I don't know if you have to pick him up now because like, let's say you're in a standard league, you probably have 6 or 7 guys injured right now. So you can't really have the luxury of like picking him up now. But like an hour before the deadline, we get a Thaddeus Young rumor. That's when you kind of got to make the move. You agree?
Yeah, I mean, I love Thaddeus Young, so I'm not going to argue with you on this one. I don't think you need to pick him up now. What are these teams that you think he might end up with? Where could he go?
The one that stood out the most was Dallas, right? We have another Porzingis knee injury. It's his 17th of the month, it seems like. That dude's never going to stay healthy. It's frustrating because I have him in a few spots too. Another good one is the Warriors because Draymond Green doesn't even have a timetable right now. We're 2 months from the playoffs? Is Draymond Green going to be back for the fantasy playoffs? So you could say maybe not right now too. So James Wiseman doesn't have a timetable. So right now they basically have a 7-foot statue named Kevin Looney as their only front court option. So Warriors, Mavericks, I've heard the Raptors, Miami Heat, so many teams where he can literally slot in for 25 minutes, which is all he needs, as you know.
Yeah, he became, and the crazy part too with that is that I had briefly named the Marvin Thad line as players that if they hit 30 minutes, they'll just sort of slow roll their way into fantasy value. And then Thaddeus Young became a guy who gets 4 assists in 25 minutes a game, and that number came down from 30 to 24. You're absolutely right. But again, you probably don't need to pick him up right now. So,
You've dreamed of building a family, but the journey hasn't been easy. I'm Dr. Laura Shaheen, a reproductive endocrinologist helping people build families every day. On our new podcast, Baby or Bust, we'll be learning from both reproductive experts and people who have faced challenges just like yours. Join us every week for Baby or Bust, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure to follow us so you never miss an episode.
At Firehouse Subs, a portion of every purchase helps provide life-saving equipment to first responders. We make our subs differently because our subs can make a difference. Like our fan-favorite Turkey Bacon Ranch, piled high with tender smoked turkey breast, crispy bacon, melted sharp cheddar cheese, and drizzled with creamy peppercorn ranch. And it's only at Firehouse Subs. Click the banner now to start your pickup or delivery order.
All right, you've got me on your side. You won me over. Now I know you're going to bludgeon me with younger players. So who's next?
That's exactly right. And I'm so mad that this game happened last night, like right before. Like I was hoping we could just sit on this guy and have it be a secret, but his name is Isaiah Jackson. I don't know how in tune you are to this guy. Are you a fan so far?
Well, he's got a pretty damn good fantasy stat set we saw. And then he got a ton of minutes yesterday when 4 centers were out. What's that?
Yeah. He had no fouls yesterday.
Yeah, that's kind of amazing. And you could kind of see the ramp up. So I guess my question for you on Jackson, I know you have some numbers on him, is how many things need to get out of his way for this to work?
So here's my thinking. Miles Turner is gone because his skill set of 3-point shooting and rim protection, running the floor, he can fit in on every single team in the NBA seamlessly, right? Sabonis, there are maybe 3 or 4 teams where he could go in and the offense pretty much has to change to fit him, right? Miles Turner can fit it anywhere. So he's gone. That's a guarantee. It sounds like he's ahead of schedule with his foot surgery. So, foot stress thing, whatever. So Miles Turner's gone. I'm 100% confident he's gone. Sabonis, I'm more 30-70. I think he more likely stays and then gets dialed back because the Pacers haven't had a top 10 pick in the last 150 years?
I legitimately
now, right?
don't know. Was Danny Granger a top 10 or was he outside the top 10?
I would imagine he's probably like 7th or something like that, if I remember right.
I'll try to look it up.
The Pacers have to hit on a pick this year, right? Because they have nothing. Brogdon's out again. The dude, his Achilles is being held together by Scotch tape. I feel bad for him. But they have to hit on a good pick this year because they're going to be stuck in mediocrity like they've been the last 15 years. And so basically, Sabonis, if he stays in Indiana past the deadline, they are still going to dial him back. I don't know if necessarily he's going to get shut down completely, but they are going to dial him back. And Goga did not help himself the last couple of weeks when he was playing. He's obviously hurt now with that foot thing, but Goga did not help himself, and he's usually a good per minute player. I think the Pacers are much higher on Isaiah Jackson. Had that monster game last night. We're talking about February 1st. So January 31st, his game, 20 points, 11 rebounds, 2 blocks, a steal. Actually, was it 26 points?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just lobbing. They were throwing lobs. He was looking really good, hit a 3-pointer as well. And by the way, he was hitting 3-pointers in the G League too. So he's a really fun player. I could kind of compare him to a rookie year Mitchell Robinson with more offense. That's my comparison.
It seems like he's and again, we're kind of basing this on just a handful of games, but there was a game where he played only 19 minutes and he was able to put up fantasy numbers. He had a 24-minute game where he put up a big line. I don't think we need him to get to 30. So my reticence there, and he got added. The numbers on Yahoo are insane. His rostership went from 3 to 31% rostered overnight.
Yeah,
maybe what we hope there.
I'm so mad the secret's out now before the deadline because this is a guy you could have just stashed that day and be fine.
We desperately need Sabonis to get back.
Yes.
To get this dude dropped because as of right now, I mean, I don't know. You think Goga and Brissett coming back could knock Jackson down to like 18 minutes and then maybe it wouldn't quite be enough, although he had a good game in 18 minutes in Dallas the other night.
I don't think it matters. If you're the Indiana Pacers front office right now, you're saying, who do you want to play down the stretch? I think it's going to be Isaiah Jackson. I think he's their number one priority right now to get minutes. And you know how much I love advanced stats, and the advanced stats just love this kid. So my friend Tim, he plays in a bunch of dynasty leagues with me, sent me this. Since 2008, only 5 freshmen have met the following criteria, and it's free throw rate, block percentage, free throw percentage. And it's Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid, Karl Anthony Towns, my boy, or I should say our boy, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Isaiah Jackson.
That's right. We did. I forgot that we did that show where I was secretly a massive JJJ fan at the beginning of the year. I couldn't tell everybody because I didn't want to get sniped. All of my leagues are with listeners now. I don't know how to do this anymore.
Yeah. JJJ's 15th in total value at last I looked, too.
Yeah, he's been fun. All these like 6-block games in a row have been nuts. Although I did, and I hope you don't get mad at me, I did trade him for the Time Lord in one league. And he's also
what you got to do. I love Time Lord. Time Lord's sitting in the second round, too. Time Lord is one of my favorites.
He's been amazing.
I ended up with a bunch of JJJ and Time Lord at the turn 4 and 5. So,
yeah, that's where a lot of the really good picks ended up this year.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how many people were taking Isaiah Stewart over Time Lord. Looking back,
I ended up with Isaiah Stewart on only one of my 14 teams. I feel very good about.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I had Isaiah Stewart as one of my sleepers. Not nearly as high as the other guys, but he was just the biggest disappointment of the season. I feel like.
What happened?
I don't know.
And now Olynyk and Grant,
he doesn't look motivated.
Yeah, I thought for sure nearly getting into a life-ending fight with LeBron James would have been the thing. Nope. Didn't do it. You would think
Cade being there would help him, but it hasn't, just hasn't worked. Trey Lyles has been somewhat decent there instead, so.
Yeah, I did not see that one coming.
I'm getting off topic.
Yeah, it's fine. A show without a Trey Lyles mention is like a day without sunshine. Right. Yeah, I think unfortunately, we needed to do this podcast a day ago. I put in bids for Isaiah Jackson in pretty much any league I'm in where you have to put in a bid, and it was not high enough. Somebody else got him in every single one of them.
Let me end by saying this. The floor for Isaiah Jackson, assuming Turner is gone, Sabonis stays, and he leapfrogs Goga, I think it's going to be 22 minutes because he's agile enough to play the 4. So we could see some overlap between him and Sabonis as well. So if we're talking a floor of 22 minutes, that's Chris Boucher territory of what we saw last year. And they're similar per minute stats too. So we could definitely see a kind of a Chris Boucher ending here, which would be a lot of fun.
His stat, I was going to say that is probably the best stat set comp in that he's not the world's most massive rebounder. He's fine there, but not like a game changer. But steals, blocks, a 3 here and there, pretty good percentages. Boucher might be a better foul shooter, although I guess we don't really know with Jackson yet.
Not a big sample size yet.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I sort of begrudgingly went with Jackson's streams yesterday, not sure what was going to happen. And then when Brissett got ruled out, it was like, all right, well, this is like, they have to. There's no one else there now. The only fear for me on that one, and then we'll go to the next one, is how much does Rick Carlisle pull the strings on this stuff? Because we know he can be a little curmudgeonly. I know because I have the same emotions in my gut that he has in his.
Okay, on that note, real quick, Goga is a hothead, and that coaching staff is not his biggest fan. I'll say that. He clashed with the coaching staff last year, and now he's kind of clashing with the coaching staff this year a little bit too. So I think that kind of helps Jackson.
Yeah,
too,
I don't think Goga's very good also.
Right.
So that's the other thing. I saw a lot of Goga love on Twitter last week, and I was very happy to be old man Vespers on that one. Just like, guys,
he was
Goga's
very underwhelming.
Yeah,
very
Goga's not very good. He's a center that for some reason shoots like 41%, even though he's right in front of the rim. I can't figure that one out. Even though I guess I didn't know this, but I was told his shooting splits in the G League have been quite good. So he just can't get it going against NBA competition. All right, hit me with the next one. I'm not adamantly opposed to that particular young guy.
Okay, so I really, really like this next one. His percent rostered has gone up to 9%. So the secret's starting to get out. It's KJ Martin Jr. in Houston. And keep in mind, guys, I'm not doing the obvious ones. Like everyone knows, Alperen Sengun is probably going to crush down the stretch, most likely. But KJ Martin's a guy that not really anyone's talking about yet. And last 4 games, Dan, he's an 8th rounder in 24 minutes. That's at 13 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.3 steals, 0.5 blocks, which is below where he should be, right?
Yeah.
He's usually a 1 block per game guy. And 0.3 triples too. That also goes up. And if we remember back last year, no one remembers Kenny Martin Jr. because Kelly Olynyk was an All-NBA Hall of Fame player down the stretch. So
yeah, that was
kind of overshadowed him a little bit.
The greatest 5 weeks of my life.
Yes. Last 10 games for him, though, he was a 5th rounder with 17 points, 8 rebounds, 2.6 steals, 2.6 dimes, 1 steal, 1 block, and 2.1 triples on pristine percentages too. So Rockets, a lot of things could break right from at the deadline. We have Christian Wood on the block, Eric Gordon on the block. They're going to dial back their veterans. So all in on Sengun and KJ Martin down the stretch. I think they're going to be really, really strong fantasy assets. But you don't have to pick up Martin just yet.
So what needs to happen for Martin to step into that bigger role? I've gotten to a place with the Rockets where I kind of just wave my hand at them in disgust, like and move on to the next one. What needs to clear out of the way? Would an Eric Gordon trade be enough? Does somebody else need to move? Is it just going to be
just one rotation player is all it takes, because according to Basketball Reference, he's played at 3 different positions for Houston, and not just like limited minutes. We're talking big chunks at each spot. So he's a very capable player, positions 3 through 5, even in some lineups. So literally one trade kind of frees him to hit that 30-minute mark, and that should be all he needs.
Yeah, he has a great stat set. That one, again, not going to argue with you there. I think we probably just... I guess the question is, if Eric Gordon is the domino, and you got to think he's on the move. He feels like one of the surest bets to be traded at the deadline. Is that one enough for you to grab KJ Martin if you have limited roster space?
I think it is. Granted, if someone like Isaiah Jackson's not available, and there's one more name I'm also going to mention next, who I'm really excited about too. But yeah, I would say he's right on the cusp for me, just because there's so many injuries on everyone's roster. If you have 4 or 5 guys injured, you don't have the luxury of stashing this guy now, right?
Right.
Maybe an hour before the deadline hits if we get some news, but yeah.
Like I basically looked at the Warriors Rockets box score last night as I was going through the recap at before bed yesterday, and I was like, okay, Christian Wood and like fart sound effect was kind of the feeling that I got. It's like, okay, so Jayshawn Tate was not good again, and then Ed Gordon was not good again, and Jalen Green was not good, but Kevin Porter came back. He's actually been a little bit better lately. I dump on him a lot, but he hasn't shot many free throws lately, and that's probably the real key for him. Just please don't, good God, Kevin, don't get fouled. And then Kenyon Martin only got 19 minutes, but had 9 and 5 with a steal and a block. Like, he had one of the better fantasy lines on that team in the fewest minutes besides Sengun, besides Josh Christopher, who I couldn't pick out of a player roster at this point. That's where I'm at with the Rockets. But if you take Gordon out, who played 35 minutes, I just realized that in yesterday's game, feels silly if you're trying to trade the dude. Garrison Matthews, he gets a good chunk of those. I don't know how many more you could give to the regulars. So, yeah, I mean, I could see where maybe 6, 7 of those go to KJ Martin, and that should be enough for him.
Yeah, on that same note, he's not on the list, but Garrison Matthews could give you like a Duncan Robinson stat set down the stretch if Eric Gordon's moved as well. So, another sneaky name.
Yeah, Garrison Matthews was really good when Porter was out, and that usage was back in the team bucket. That was nice. Everybody, that was the thing that got like 4 guys up over the cut line. Just dumping that usage back into the pool. Do you think? What are the odds?
They
you think
him Gary Bird, so he had to be pretty good.
Do you What are the odds you think Wood gets moved? Because I've seen Twitter sort of fighting on that one, whether or not it's a movable contract. Would they even move him? I guess.
I think so, and it's kind of interesting too because we've seen all these reports. I think KOC's probably followed this the best, but Christian Wood joined the Rockets almost strictly to play with James Harden, and since Harden left, Wood hates his life. He does not like losing. He's seen enough losing in his lifetime. So I think Wood's quietly asking out, and I think that's kind of the reason why we haven't seen a bunch of Sengun, because Sengun in limited minutes has been incredible. Like, he's making some passes that are like, dare I say, Jokic-esque, but he's really exciting. So I think they want to free up some space for him. I don't think they've made the move yet because they want to showcase Wood. But if you look at Wood's contract, he has his flaws, right? He has some off-court concerns, some maturity concerns here and there. We've seen it a couple times. He's been suspended as well. But Wood, relative to his contract, is a very productive player. Yeah. And we've already seen him linked to Miami, among others. So I think there's a 50-50 shot he's moved as well.
All right, who's your last one? You kept one bottled up here for the end.
I've actually got 2, but I'll hit the last one's a quick one because I know he's a sports ethos favorite over there. So I'll hit this guy first. And I don't necessarily think a trade is what he needs. It's Willie Hernan-Gomez. How are you liking this guy, Dan? I want to hear your thoughts first.
Well, I have mixed feelings on old Willie because he tends to be pretty localized on points, boards, and field goal percent, but I don't know. It did kind of also feel like he needed Valanciunas out of the way. You don't think so?
Here's the thing. There's a chance Valanciunas is traded. Don't get me wrong. I think it's probably 2080, right? I think they kind of like Valanciunas. He has a great contract. Obviously, you love him. I love him. I think Valanciunas is a very good player. Has probably another year or 2 left in his prime. But down the stretch, we're assuming Zion's not coming back. Brandon Ingram's a shutdown candidate in my mind. If that happens, I think they also dial back Jonas Valanciunas and they get a top pick because Zion's not exactly happy there. I think they could change his mind if they can convince him to stay with like a top 4 pick to add to that core that they, for some reason, they got rid of Lonzo, which never made sense to me for Devontae Graham and Satoransky, but that's a whole nother tangent for another day. But Zion isn't happy. They need a top pick to convince him to stay long-term. I think they dial back all their players like Graham. We've already seen Hart rest. We've seen Valanciunas rest. And Willie Green was asked who one of his favorite players was, and he kept raving about Willie Hernan-Gomez.
What is he seeing that nobody else saw?
Well, that's interesting too, because last year you would say, yeah, Jackson Hayes is the franchise center down the road, right? Not anymore. Like, he's had an off-court incident. He's had maturity concerns on the court. He has not played well. And it's been Willie Green just hyping Willie Hernan-Gomez after every game. And last 4 games for him were insane. And I'm even going to include a game with Valanciunas back. He's at 17 points, 10.3 rebounds, and 2 assists, and a block even, which is a surprise for him, in 4 games, 27 minutes.
Yeah, I
He
can't.
could be very sneaky down the stretch.
That's a weird one. He can do it pretty quick. He got 10 boards in only 16 and a half minutes yesterday. Jackson Hayes actually got the start in that game against the big Cavs front court.
Yeah.
Pels are weird. The Pels are weird. I don't know what they're gonna do. Are they really convincing themselves that they still have a shot to compete in the West? Because they're only 2.5 games back of the Blazers.
Resting players. If you're 4 teams back from a play-in spot and you're resting players, that tells me you've waved a white flag, right? It's over.
I don't know. I think they're going to delude themselves into fighting a bit longer.
That would be hilarious. I will say that.
Because I feel like this is like a build-up season. Zion was supposed to be
walk
playing.
Into the locker room, they see like championship aspirations on the whiteboard. I don't know.
At 18 and 32.
Yeah.
What do you think about Jackson Hayes? Do you think there's any chance he slides into any of that? I know that because he is still only, 21?
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking strictly player evaluation, I don't doubt that he's going to get his chances, right? But I think right now, Willie has the favor of the coaching staff.
Man, that's crazy.
And I think he's going to get the first shot at getting an extended role. And obviously, Willie has his flaws, right? As like a real life player. In fantasy, he has his flaws as well, too. Not the greatest blocks and steals guy. But, man, those last 4 games were exciting. And remember back in Charlotte, he actually had those monster games here and there, too. So he's done this before. So he's moderately interesting for me, but not as interesting as my last and final guy, if you're ready for it.
I am ready for it. Maybe not. Am I?
He's one of your favorites. I've seen you hype him up at times. I've seen Brewski hype him up a lot as well. It's Isaiah Hartenstein for the Clippers.
I do like Hartenstein. Why won't they play that dude? Why did Serge Ibaka get 7 more minutes than Hartenstein?
I'll tell you why. Ibaka has an expiring contract. They're trying to show other teams that Ibaka is able to run up the floor 2 or 3 times before completely collapsing and huffing and puffing. It's sad to watch, honestly. Ibaka just looks completely washed. It's hard to watch, honestly.
Hartenstein. So, do you think Ibaka gets moved? Do you think he gets turned off?
100%.
How do they? Oh, okay.
100% Ibaka is moved. If he's not moved, they may waive him. It's that bad. It's hard to watch. And one more thing too, keep in mind, Zubac has been solid this season, but he only averages 24 minutes. If you give the other 24 to Hartenstein, we have a top 75 player, Dan.
Yeah. His stat set is amazing. And I know I've seen you tweet about it. I've seen Brew tweet about it. He's heavily owned in the leagues I'm in because people that follow you and me and Brew. But overall, he's only 6% rostered.
Yeah. Here's the crazy thing. He's nearly a top 150 player in 16 minutes per game.
Yeah, and that's a guy that then you could make him, you kind of call him like an active stash at that point.
Yeah,
you could use him.
Absolutely. And keep this in mind too. We don't know for sure that Paul George and Kawhi are coming back. I'm hoping they do because they don't have a first-round pick and they kind of want to squeeze every little bit of this window they have with Kawhi and Paul George.
Yeah, said the guy who has a bunch of Paul Georges on his fantasy team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the Clippers are expected to be one of the most active teams at the deadline. This has been reported by several different reporters. KOC is one of them. But Marcus Morris could be on the move. That would help Hartenstein as well because Marcus Morris has played some small ball 5 for the last couple of years.
Yeah, he absolutely has. So let me ask you this. Wrapping up all of the names on the board here. Of these guys, Isaiah Jackson is certainly somebody you'd move on quickly. Are any of the other guys someone that you'd pick up now, 9 days before the deadline, or are they all like run up to? I think Hartenstein maybe you could grab early.
Yeah, I'd say Hartenstein is probably number 2 behind Isaiah Jackson right now. I would probably put KJ Martin number 3 because he's already getting 20 minutes now, right? Willie is probably 4th. Yeah, I would say Willie's probably 4th.
Okay.
And then Thaddeus is 5th because I think unless you're me or you or one of our listeners, he's kind of like off the radar now, right? We haven't seen him in 2 months.
No, he even only played a dozen minutes in the game where the Spurs were resting guys on Sunday. Although I think he had like 10 or 12 points in those 12 minutes. He was ready, man. Thad had the engines. They were well oiled. He was ready to go.
Yeah. And don't give up hope, though, if he's not moved because he screams a buyout candidate as well, too. So don't take him off your watch list just because he's not moved.
There really are a lot of teams that could use Thad. It's kind of sad that he's still just sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah, he's not.
My poor Thaddeus.
He's not Dan Besbris old yet either, right? He's not like the 37, 38-year-olds that you normally like, but he still has some value, I think.
By the way, I want to go on record as noting that in draft season this year, I did say Kyle Lowry is too old even for the Dan Besbris old man squad. That was the threshold. Like, guy who hasn't made it through a season in 4 years gets traded to where he's now like a third or fourth option. That was officially too old. So there was a guy, and it was Kyle Lowry this year. Sorry, Kyle. I like Kyle Lowry, but it was just
I hope he comes back soon. We have no idea what's going on with him.
There's a lot of weirdness. So we're in a strange time, Jonas. We're gonna get through it though. Thad, Isaiah Jackson, Isaiah Hartenstein, KJ Martin, Willie Hernan-Gomez. Did I miss anybody?
Nope.
No, I tried to.
I'm just going to toss out a name that we might see down the stretch. Okay, I'm not even going to give you any kind of crazy analysis, because if we're going to see one G League player emerge this year, it's going to be Nate Hinton for the Pacers. Okay,
I have no idea who you're talking about.
He's a guard who almost leads the G League in rebounds. So amazing steal rate, amazing block rate, can do it all. He actually followed Rick Carlisle from Dallas and plays in Indiana now. Keep an eye on him, because the Pacers and the Pelicans, in my mind, are the two teams most likely to just torpedo the roster at the deadline.
God, I hope you call another G League surge.
I hope so.
I loved that Moses Brown comes in. Didn't he have a 2020 game, or was really close to that?
He had a 2020 game, and now he's an all-NBA talent, getting 36 minutes every night. So 100% spot-on analysis. Moses Brown is the best player in the league right now.
There you go. We got him last year. We sold high on him. Maybe we can recycle it. Do it on
Now we're
Nathan.
putting him in the Hall of Fame. Yep.
That's right. He was in the Hall of Fame for sell highs. That's for damn sure. We cashed in on that one quick. That was amazing. That was like buying a stock the day that it goes up 5 points, and you're just like, okay, that was good. I enjoyed that. Let's do the next thing now. I forgot to give your Twitter handle at the beginning. I was too excited to talk to you. This is, of course, the great Jonas Nader, at Jonas Nader on Twitter. JONASNADER of NBC Sports Edge / you might remember it as Roto World. I got to throw it in there just so people know.
Hey, can I mention? I think we're bringing the name Roto World back, though. It's kind of officially official.
Wait, whoa! What? Really?
Yeah. So we're still NBC Sports Edge, but we're also called Roto World. It's in motion. They tweeted it like a month ago, and it's still like the details are still being worked out. But they're trying to reincorporate the Roto World name.
Yay!
Too, really
cool. Can I celebrate that on air? That's not offensive, right?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
I missed the RW. It was so much easier. It was such a legendary name. It's the thing we all used for so long, and then when it went away, it was like, wait, you're what now?
And I really like you guys' new name, Sports Ethos, because I know you're like branching off into other sports too, and it's just like all encompassing. So I like that idea.
Thank you. Yeah, it would have been tough to have like a football division while being called hoop ball. Right. Although Brew and I, here's fun for listeners. Behind the scenes, we were like trying to figure out what things you could put instead of hoop with ball to have other sites with it, like pigskin ball or pig ball or like.
Right.
Yeah, it was funnier for baseball than football. There's a lot of.
I'd imagine.
Yeah. Mitt ball was a good one for baseball.
Yeah, you guys got a lot of good talent there. I'm excited for you guys.
Well, I am so damn happy to get to talk to you, man. The great Jonas Nader. Thank you for coming on, dude.
Now we got to get back. We got to get Bogman on the show eventually. And
seriously,
we get Will up in here.
Damn it, Bogman. Come back to us, baby. Come back. I tried to. All right. Well, I know. Off topic again. Jonas, thank you, my man. Can't wait to see what shakes out at the deadline.
Always a pleasure, and I'll make sure to come back a lot sooner than I did this time for sure.
Hugs and kisses, my man.
Absolutely.
Jonas. Always brings the goods. Always brings the goods at Jonas Nader on Twitter. One of my good buddies in this fantasy industry. Very happy to be able to say that. Quickly on Monday's card, Memphis at Philly. Monday was a weird one. Monday was not my favorite. Brandon Clark only played 13 minutes. Steven Adams, I would have said it was Joel Embiid related, but it was Andre Drummond related. Overtime game. Steven Adams played 38 minutes. We saw Clark got 20 in the last one, so I'm not going to worry yet. It is worth noting that DeAnthony Melton only got 15 with Tyus Jones back in the mix. I am a little worried about that. Not so worried about Clark. Am a bit worried about Melton. But again, we're this close to the trade deadline, so hang on for dear life. Joel Embiid will be back in the next ball game, and that's the story on the Memphis side. Don't hit the full panic button after one ball game, but you can start to consider it a little bit. It's a good win for Philly without Embiid. Cleveland beat New Orleans 93-90. Not what you'd call an exciting basketball game, but it was a good one. Jackson Hayes got the start at power forward against the big Cavaliers lineup, and he was excellent. I really wish we would see more Jackson Hayes. I don't think we will, but I wish we would. Jonas Valanciunas came back. Brandon Ingram is questionable tonight. Josh Hart is out. They'll rest him on the back-to-back with his knee contusion. So maybe Ingram plays, I don't know. If Ingram plays at small forward or power forward, Herb Jones kind of has to be the other one. So this was probably more of a one-time thing with Hayes. Unfortunately, he has a really good fantasy game. He's just never getting any playing time. So I wouldn't buy into it unless we saw it a couple of times in a row. Same general story on the Cleveland side. They went heavy on a bench lineup in this game. Lamar Stevens had 5 defensive stats, 5 for 6 shooting, not sustainable. Brandon Goodwin, 8 of 11 shooting, not sustainable. The one I've been hoping for would have been J.D. Osman or Isaac Okoro, and Osman filling in at point guard for Darius Garland. So yes, he had the high assist numbers. I don't think Garland misses another ball game. If he does, now you know. Clippers are also super annoying these days. Totally different rotations in this game than they had in the last one. No Ivica Zubats. So Serge Ibaka started and double-doubled in 23 minutes. Isaiah Hartenstein only got 14 minutes. Backing it up, Luke Kennard only played 16 minutes. I don't know what's going on out here. Nick Batum is dealing with his back spasms, but he did get 25 minutes. He's probably now your safest play. Amir Coffey, I could put him up there as more the safer play. He's going to score a lot, and when he's hot, you can get a good line like this one, but you saw when he's not, it disappears quickly. As soon as I give the okay on one of these guys, it's gonna blow up in our face. Right now, the only guy that you can reliably say will get some fantasy value, if he's healthy enough to play, is Nick Batum. That said, he might play 9 minutes and leave with back spasms. So I don't know that I would start anyone on the Clippers right now. I thought Luke Kennard was turning the corner, and then this game happened. Yikes. Marcus Morris has shown himself to not really be fantasy friendly, particularly on a team that's willing to kind of go anywhere. I'm kind of okay moving on from basically every Clipper at this point. You don't have to, but I wouldn't fault you if you did. This portion of the show is brought to you by our friends at ThriveFantasy.com and the Thrive Fantasy app. Prop up, people, with prop bets at Thrive Fantasy. No longer must you toil at the deepest corners of the darkest dumpsters in DFS gaming. No longer must you try to figure out if Saban Lee is going to play 6 minutes in a ball game and take 4 shots. No longer must you try to figure out if Jeremiah Robinson Earl is going to log more than 19 minutes in a basketball game. No longer must you determine if Matt Thomas is worth playing on the Chicago Bulls. Because at Thrive Fantasy, you only need to focus on the names, the big names, the superstars, the folks you care about. 20 prop bets to choose from. You pick 10 overs and unders. If you get the most points from your selections, you win money in the Thrive Fantasy Tournament du jour. 100% deposit match bonus and multiple free game vouchers with just a $10 deposit using promo code ETHOS, ETHOS. Head on over there, throw $10 in the account, and you get another 10 on the deposit match, and 2 $20 contest entry vouchers. $60 of play for $10 of deposit at ThriveFantasy.com with promo code ETHOS. Check them out now. They're a fantastic partner. You guys are going to have a lot of fun. I promise you're going to enjoy yourself. It's fun. In my estimation, it's better than traditional DFS. I know that plenty of folks out there love regular DFS. I'm just not one of them. So something different, something special. This is right up my alley. Thrive Fantasy, they've got the app, Apple Store, Android Store, wherever you got to go, or the computer, ThriveFantasy.com. That's where my old people like me go to play it. Check it out now. go to play it. Check it out now. Domantas Sabonis back into protocols yesterday, so that elevated Isaiah Jackson to the starting center spot because Sabonis, Turner, and Goga Bitadze and O'Shea Brissett were all out. So basically, 4 centers down, and Jackson got a double-double. And if that's the case in the next ball game, you run him out there again. In fact, I think even if Brissett plays, Jackson probably still gets 22, 23 minutes, and that's likely enough. If Goga and Brissett are back, I don't know that Jackson still gets enough. Justin Holiday moved back into a nice position in this ballgame, and he should be generally okay when the Sabonis usage is back out on the table, because he's not going to get much, but he'll get just a little bit more when all of the usage guys are out except Karis LeVert. Chris Duarte probably should have been better. I think you can likely start him when Sabonis is out too, and again, it's that usage thing. So right now, with everybody out, Jackson, Holiday, Duarte, those guys are all streamable. When Sabonis comes back, I think you probably take maybe all of them off the table. It's possible Duarte can hang on at that point. Possible. I don't know if I'd go probable, but possible. Well, the Kings' meltdown of life continues, bludgeoned by a slumping Knicks team. I mean, that's a bad loss. They're all bad losses. Harrison Barnes missed a bunch of free throws, or this could have been an okay ball game. He's startable. Rashawn Holmes is normally startable. He got eaten alive by the Knicks' defense. Really just the Kings' offense is... Yeah, it's pretty gross these days. As long as De'Aaron Fox is out, you can probably stream Davion Mitchell as kind of a low-end stream. Tyrese Halliburton, we know he's going to be really good anytime Fox is out. I would expect more from Buddy Hield, but this is kind of what he's been, which is just barely startable. Lots of decent fantasy lines on the Knicks side in this game, but it didn't really change my opinion of anyone. Kemba Walker remains way too big of a headache to deal with, and he had a bad game here to boot. Mitchell Robinson has been playing better, but his free throws by volume have gone way up. So his good stuff is no longer outweighing the bad. Nerlens Noel at 21 minutes is the guy I'm looking at on this team. I hope he can stay healthy for longer than 2 games in a row. Simple fact is 5 boards, 5 assists, 2 steals, and a block, and nothing else is good enough for a fantasy line. And then you got Quentin Grimes, Alec Burks, Evan Fournier, and Obi Toppin having good scoring games. If you can figure out put a bunch of those balls in your hand and roll them out onto the table and see which ones come up the right way, good luck. Whatever. On to the next one. Jimmy Butler sat this one out. No surprise there. Dude played 150 minutes in Miami's game on Saturday. I was very surprised we didn't see more Raptors sit out any of these Monday games. In fact, they went giant minutes again. I think Jimmy will be fine this time around. I'm a little bit less worried. But whatever he's got going on, that was the type of game on Saturday that could re-aggravate it. So hopefully it's not a big deal. This is part of a back-to-back. I would expect him to play in the next one, because it's tonight, isn't it? But I don't know. I guess we'll see. Probably some Raptors sit out there back-to-back. I wouldn't read too much into this ball game, is what I'm saying, because I think Jimmy Butler's back, and then that shifts everybody around. Okay? Boston's coming on. I know they're 6-4 in their last 10, but their defense has been really good. Tatum is starting to get a little bit more consistent on offense, which is a weird... That's not even the right word for it. Maybe an unfair assessment of Jason, but again, and this happened to him a couple seasons back where he got off to that brutally slow shooting start to the year, and it's not totally gone. This is like one of the very rare games where Tatum was just sort of fine. Lately, it's kind of been absolutely monstrous, ridiculous Mondo game or like horrible shooting game. If you look at some of his recent games against the Pels, he had 38, 8, and 7 and shot 65%. Game before that, he shot sub 30%. Had 20.6 boards for it. He had some blocks in that one, but that was a tough one in Atlanta. 2 games before that, the win over Sacramento, he shot 61%. The win over Washington, he shot 64%. That was his 51-point game. He's been all over the map. But durability's been nice. That's been a really nice thing for Tatum. He's played in 48 games this year. I believe he leads the NBA in points because he's been able to rack up so many ball games under his belt. I think he passed Joel Embiid, who's outscoring him on a per-game basis, but Tatum's got him by 10 games. Steph Curry. Did Tatum pass Steph? I think he passed Steph because he has one more game this year than Curry does. So, if you need points, Tatum's actually turned out to be the most important guy in fantasy for that. All that to say, Boston's coming around a little bit. Pieces are starting to click a little better. Horford even had a decent ball game for once. Time Lord slowed down in a weird twist. He'll be fine. It's a narrow buy-low window. Buy. Buy if you can. Robert Williams, literally... Okay, I'm not going to give up anything for the Time Lord, but I would almost give up anything for the Time Lord. He missed a handful of games. He has the knee thing that acts up from time to time, but here's the thing. He's number 25 on the season after a slow start. We've talked about this. He's a first rounder for almost 2 months now. About a month and a half, he's been a first rounder, despite yesterday's slow game. Number 8 over the last month. Despite yesterday's slow game. He's been a beast. Go get him. I would pretty much trade anything after 25, almost. That's how impressive he's been. Now, if you could do it for a 35 or 40 range guy, hell yeah, you do it. I just don't know that you can. Doesn't come that cheap. Toronto, winners in Atlanta. This one blew me away. Raptors should have been completely exhausted, and they hit a bunch of three-pointers, mostly Gary Trent. 9 three-pointers for Trent. He played 41 minutes. Siakam, 41 minutes again. Freddie VanVleet, 39. I don't know how his knee's going to handle this one. They went all starters again, although Boucher did get 21 minutes. Typically, if he gets 21 minutes, he'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Keep trotting him out there. On the Atlanta side, arguably the more interesting fantasy notes from this card, Onyeka Okongwu, 9-9 with a block in 23 minutes in a non-blowout. That's notable. I don't think Capella's about to lose his starting job. I don't think that it's really a seismic shift, but Okongwu's been playing really well lately, and it does seem like this is moving more towards a 27-21 type of minute split instead of 30 and 18, which probably puts Okongwu in the ad department. Kevin Huerter, don't care. I know he had a big game, don't care. Bogdanovic is the wing you want in Atlanta. I expect Trae Young back for the next ball game as well. Delon Wright, love him as a fill-in, but it ain't going to stick. And the Warriors beat the Rockets. No surprise there. Oh, I guess there were 2 more ball games, huh? Steph, big game. Wiggins, big game. Thompson slowed down a little bit, but, whatever. And then Otto Porter will play tonight when Thompson rests. So fire up your Ottos. Love me some Otto Porter streams these days. Just talked to Jonas about the Rockets. Really nothing going on there unless somebody gets shifted around at the deadline. And then Portland. This is a really bad loss for the Blazers against an OKC team without Gilgeous-Alexander, Lou Dort, Josh Giddey. Those are your guys. I know Bazley shot the ball well again. I get all these Bazley questions when he has 2 games in a row where he shoots 70%. It'll go away. It always does. Just Dort, just Giddey. And for Portland, Simons cooled off. That's probably why they lost. McCollum was fine. Powell was fine. Nurk was okay. Not great. He was okay. Rob Covington was in foul trouble, but he got his 6 defensive stats anyway. That's delightful. No valuation changes there. And that's your Monday recap. But today's show was really about Jonas, the Stash Master. A visit from the Stash Master himself. Coming up later this week, very excited, we'll be talking to my good friend Josh Millman. He's got trade deadline thoughts. He is the rant master. If Jonas is the Stash Master, then Josh Millman is the rant master. I don't have more fun on shows than I do with Josh very often. That's for damn sure. That's going to be a fun. And we'll see. It's going to be schedule dependent, mostly my schedule, because I'm a finicky little prick. We'll get Adam King here on either later this week or next week. So Adam, Josh coming up in the wings. Trade deadline show, February the 10th. Please go to sportsethos.com/ Nope, that's not right. YouTube.com/sportsethos. Almost flipped it on you. And go like and subscribe and set an alarm for our trade deadline show, 8 a.m. Pacific time, Thursday, February the 10th. One more big thank you to Jonas Nader at Jonas Nader on Twitter. I am at Dan Vespers. This is a Sports Ethos presentation of Fantasy NBA Today. Ethos Fantasy BK. Go follow the best feed on planet Earth on Twitter as well. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. So long.